Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you all? I'm your English teacher, Miss Iram Nas, and today I'm here to teach you English. So, what is our today's task? Today we will read unit number 3, page number 15 and 16 of Broadway workbook, and we will also do page number 17 of the same Broadway workbook. We will do some detailed explanations and some difficult words will be practiced, and the last the student will guess and enjoy on page number 17. So, can you read the heading of this slide? It's written Story Alice in the Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Do you remember the story? Have you ever seen it? This is Disney's Alice in the Wonderland. So to our today unit also is taken from the same fairy tale from the same Disney Alice in the Wonderland. उसका बहुत छोटा सा part लिया है उन्होंने. So are you ready for this wonderful adventure? Before beginning of the lesson, I will tell you some characters in the story. Over here you can see Alice, who's a little girl, and there is a rabbit with a watch in his hand. In this story, only these two main characters are there. So let us start. Before beginning of this reading of the unit, I will give a brief outline of the story. So what happens? Alice sits in her garden and she was reading a book. All of a sudden, she falls asleep while reading. Suddenly, she sees a rabbit with a watch in his hand. Alice sees the rabbit hole. The rabbit goes in the rabbit hole, and what she does, she follows Mr. Rabbit. Can you see? She's following Mr. Rabbit in the rabbit hole. And when she reaches at the end, she falls down a deep well. Then what happens when she reaches at the bottom? She sees a tiny door. But she was so big and the door was so small that she could not pass through. So what happened? She thinks and thinks and what to do. So what happened? There was a key on the table. She opened the door with the key. But still she was too big to pass through that tiny door. So what happens? She sees some magical mushrooms over there. What she does, she start eating those magical mushrooms. Then what happened? As she eats the magical mushroom, she becomes very small. And then what happens? She can easily pass through that door. When she passes through the door, she goes into a beautiful magical garden. And when she reaches the garden, all of the sudden, what happens? She wakes up and it was all a dream. जी माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आपने सुनी द स्टोरी वाज सो इंटरेस्टिंग. तो ये एक छोटा सा उसका पार्ट लिया हुआ है. लेट्स बिगिन आवर टुडेज वर्क. Today is page now. This is your page number 15. Before beginning of the lesson, make sure that you write date and day on top of the page very nicely. Now grab your pencils so that we can underline the difficult word while reading, and I will tell you its Urdu meaning. Alice sits in her garden. She is reading a book. She is very sleepy. Suddenly, suddenly, underline with the word suddenly. Suddenly का मतलब अचानक. She sees a rabbit. He has a watch in his hand. He goes down a hole in the ground. Alice goes after him. She falls down a deep well. Well मतलब उस वो जो होल था, रैबिट होल, वो कनेक्ट हुआ था एक डीप वेल, बहुत गहरे कुएं के साथ. When she comes to the bottom, Mr. Rabbit is not there. Then she sees a tiny door. Tiny मतलब बहुत छोटा सा डोर, बहुत छोटा सा दरवाजा. and a beautiful garden through it. उस tiny door को जैसे उसने open किया with the key, she can see a beautiful garden. There was a key on the table. She opens the door. The door is very small and she is too big. She cannot go through the door into the garden. Now turn your pages to page number 16. Make sure that you write date and day quickly. And let's continue. She finds a magic mushroom. Magic mushroom. Magic यानी बहुत एक जादुई चीज, एक magical चीज. Mushroom. Can you see this picture? This is a picture of a mushroom. She eats a piece of it. एक छोटा सा टुकड़ा खाती है mushroom का. Then what happens? She becomes small and she goes into the garden. But all of the sudden, what happened? She wakes up and it was all a dream. So did you understood today's story? It was such a wonderful story in which there is a girl named Alice. What happens? That one day she was sitting in a garden and was reading a book and was feeling sleepy. So what happens? All of a sudden she sees Mr. Rabbit with a watch in his hand. She starts following Mr. Rabbit and Mr. Rabbit goes into its hole and she follows the Mr. Rabbit in the rabbit hole and then reaches a deep well. जैसे ही वो वेल के अंदर से गुजरती है वो बहुत डीप होती है, बहुत गहरी होती है. जैसे वो बॉटम में पहुंचती है वहां पे उसको क्या मिलता है? एक टाइनी डोर जहां पे उसको नजर आता है कि बहुत खूबसूरत सा गार्डन है और वो उसको ओपन करती है विद द गोल्डन की ऑन द टेबल. बट शी वॉज टू बिग एंड द डोर वॉज टू स्मॉल. So what she does, she eats the magical mushroom that was over there, and when she eats the magical mushrooms, all of the sudden she becomes very tiny so that she can pass through that door. And when she passes through that door, what happens? She goes to a magical garden and very beautiful it was. And when she reaches there, all of the sudden she wakes up and it was all a dream. So now grab your pencils. We will begin the exercise part. Learn to read. Look at the pictures. Which of these pictures show you what happened in the story? Put a tick below only those pictures. आपने उन उन पिक्चर्स पे टिक करना है जो उस स्टोरी में हुआ था. आपने गौर से पिक्चर्स को पहले ऑब्जर्व करना है. यू हैव टू ऑब्जर्व द पिक्चर्स एंड सी दैट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द पिक्चर एंड देन यू हैव टू रिकॉल दैट आइदर द स्पेसिफिक एनिमल और द स्पेसिफिक एक्शन और द स्पेसिफिक सीन was there in that story or not. And you have to put a tick like this below only below those pictures that was happening in the story. For example, I will do these fours for you and the rest will be done by yourself. Alice is reading a book under a tree. Was this part in the story? Yes, it was. So you will put a tick like this. There was an elephant in the story. Was there an elephant in the story? I don't think so. So let's proceed further. The Alice follows the rabbit with a watch in his hand. Can you see this watch? This is the watch in his hand. So was the scene in the story? Yes, it was. So I will put a tick like this. And next, when Alice reached the rabbit hole, what happened? She fell into a deep well. Can you see Alice? Yes, this is Alice and this is the deep rabbit hole and it was leading towards the well. So was the scene in the picture? Yes, it was. So you will put a tick like this. Now these four pictures will be done by yourself. हमारे lecture सिर्फ आज यहाँ तक है, सिर्फ इस part तक है. Before starting of this page, make sure to write the date and day on top of the page. I will explain you these four pictures and आपने सोच के उन pictures में tick लगाना है जो वो scene हुआ था उस story में. All of the sudden there was a tiger. Is this tick or cross? Alice sees the door and it was so tiny. Is this tick or cross? Next, Alice is eating a mushroom, a magical mushroom. Is this tick or cross? Next, Alice started to play with the cat and start dancing. Did this scene happen in the story or not? You have to think and put tick or cross over here. Gee, my dear ones, so let's take a quick wrap up. What we did, we read unit number 3, page number 15 and 16, and we did page number 17 of our Broadway workbook. We will learn some many valuable lessons. And do you know that what was the main moral of the story? क्या आपको main moral of the story का पता है? क्या आप सुनेंगे? Gee, the main moral of the story is that Alice wanted to find the way back home, but she couldn't. In fact, it's the same way when people fall down a hole का मतलब in depression or had some bad days. It's easy to stay sad all day, but you should follow Alice's lead. हमें Alice के lead को follow करना चाहिए and begin searching for a way out of the hole and stand up for yourself. But one of the most important lesson for any young person to learn is not to let bullies get you and always stand up for yourself. So the main moral of the story is that you should always stand up for yourself. And कभी कभी ऐसा वक्त आता है कि बच्चे जैसे बैड फील करते हैं, बहुत उसके सराउंडिंग के लोग उनका फन करते हैं, उनके लिए बैड वर्ड्स यूज करते हैं, लेकिन व्हाट यू हैव टू डू, यू शुड नॉट फील बैड अबाउट योरसेल्फ. इन फैक्ट यू शुड फील गुड अबाउट योरसेल्फ एंड यू शुड स्टैंड फॉर योरसेल्फ. एंड इन तमाम बातों को इग्नोर करते हुए यू शुड फॉलो द लीड. यानी लीड का मतलब है आपने अपने विजन्स को क्लियर रखना है, दैट आपका मेन एम क्या है, एंड जो भी सराउंडिंग्स में बातें हो रही उन सब को आपने इग्नोर कर देना है. सो व्हाट वी डिड इन द नेक्स्ट, द मॉरल ऑफ द स्टोरी इज सच इंटरेस्टिंग है ना. नेक्स्ट व्हाट वी डिड, वी गेस्ड एंड टेक द करेक्ट पिक्चर्स इन द स्टोरी. So that is it, my dear students. Don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell icon for new notifications. This is Miss Iramna signing off, and I had a wonderful time together while narrating the story to you and explaining it. Hope that you liked my videos. Take care of yourself and of your family. Allah Hafiz.